B2B lead generation, techniques that convert. Lead generation didn't die, it just got less forgiving. B2B lead generation is still working. What changed is how quickly average outreach gets ignored. When an average cold email only earns about 5.1% responses and open rates hover around 27.7%, the send more approach stops being a growth plan and starts being a deliverability problem. The teams that win build precision into every part of the outbound machine: targeting, data, messaging, and follow-up. At the same time, buying groups are larger and more complex, averaging roughly 8.2 stakeholders for many B2B purchases. That means you're not just convincing one champion, you're earning trust across multiple roles with different priorities, timelines, and risk tolerance. If your outbound only speaks to a single persona, you're usually one internal no away from a stalled deal. The upside is that a disciplined outbound program stands out fast because most competitors still run noisy playbooks. Whether you build in-house or partner with an outbound sales agency like SalesHive, the goal is the same: turn activity into meetings that convert to pipeline, not vanity metrics. The rest of this guide breaks down the techniques modern SDR teams use to make that happen consistently. Benchmarks that keep your team honest. Before you change scripts or swap tools, calibrate expectations against real-world benchmarks. Cold email performance is commonly judged by opens, replies, and meetings booked. Cold calling performance is usually judged by connect rate and meeting conversion. For most teams, cold call conversion to meeting rates land around 2 to 5%. While top performers can reach 10 to 15% with strong targeting, tight talk tracks, and consistent coaching. Email remains the primary outbound channel for a reason. About 73% of B2B buyers say they prefer to be contacted by email. That doesn't mean email alone is enough. It means email is the anchor that supports a broader system. If you're acting like a cold email agency that only sends sequences, you'll cap results quickly because modern buyers respond to coordinated, credible touchpoints across channels. Use the table below as a starting scoreboard for diagnosing what's broken. If you're under these baselines, it's typically an ICP/list problem first, then a deliverability issue, then messaging. If you're above, you should document why and scale the inputs that caused it. Your list and ICP are 80% of the outcome. Most underperforming programs aren't losing because the email copy is bad. They're losing because the ICP is vague and the list is messy. If your targeting could describe any mid-market company, you'll end up writing generic messaging which forces you to rely on volume. In practice, high-converting teams define 2 or 3 priority segments with clear firmographics, role targets, and buying triggers. Then build campaigns that only speak to those segments. Data quality is where lead gen gets real. Clean, verified emails and direct dials, correct personas, and a reason each account is on the list, tech stack fit, hiring signals, leadership change, expansion, will outperform any clever subject line. This is why list-building services matter so much. If the underlying inputs are wrong, your SDR agency or outsourced sales team will burn cycles on the wrong conversations and conclude outbound doesn't work. Your offer is the third leg of the foundation, and it needs to sell the next step, not the entire product story. The best offers are specific, low friction, and anchored in a measurable outcome tied to the prospect's world. When we run outbound at SalesHive, we treat the first objective as earning a small commitment, a short fit call, because that's how you create momentum without overselling to cold prospects. Build a multi-channel sequence that forces clarity. Single-channel outreach is fragile. If your emails hit promotions, or a prospect is simply ignoring inbox noise, your campaign stalls. Multi-channel sequences, email plus phone plus LinkedIn outreach services, reduce risk and usually improve unit economics, with multi-channel programs associated with roughly 31% lower cost per lead versus single-channel efforts. The practical takeaway is simple. Stop treating channels as separate tactics and start treating them as coordinated touches that tell one story. A strong starting point is a 6 to 9 touch sequence over 15 to 25 days, where every touch adds new information instead of repeating just bumping this. The email touches carry the narrative and proof, while the phone touches create urgency and compress time. This is why a well-run cold calling agency can still outperform inbox-only campaigns, especially in competitive categories. The common mistake is doing random acts of outreach. Sporadic emails, unlogged calls, and no clear progression of value. Phone still works, but it has to be treated as a skill, not a checkbox. With cold call meeting conversion often around 2 to 5%, you need enough volume to learn and enough coaching to move from average to elite. If your team is debating whether to invest in B2B cold calling services or build an internal cold calling team, use the same criterion. Can you reliably produce coaching, QA, and list quality at the pace required? Outbound doesn't fail because prospects hate being contacted. It fails because most outreach gives them no reason to care. Messaging that converts: relevance, proof, and persistence. High-converting messaging is usually simple. It's specific to the segment, grounded in a real business problem, and backed by proof. Personalization matters most when it changes the meaning of the message, not when it adds fluff. Data suggests personalized cold emails are about 2.7 times more likely to be opened and can generate up to 10 times more responses than generic templates. That's a major reason modern cold email agency workflows lean on structured research and scalable personalization instead of spray and pray templates. The second lever is social proof that matches the prospect's context. Companies like yours, not just logos. When buying groups average 8.2 stakeholders, your message needs to give champions ammunition they can repeat internally, which means clear outcomes and clear rationale. A common mistake is making the prospect do the work. Vague claims, unclear next steps, or too many asks in one email. Follow-up is the quiet multiplier most teams underuse. Roughly 80% of sales require 5 or more follow-up touches, yet many reps stop after 2 or 3, which effectively turns early interest into pipeline leakage. If you want a fast win, tighten your follow-up discipline. Each touch should introduce a new angle, insight, benchmark, short case study, risk of inaction, and make it easy to say yes or no. Qualification and nurture. Don't throw away "not yet." Lead generation isn't just about net new meetings. It's also about what happens after a prospect engages. When someone replies but isn't ready, the worst move is letting the conversation die because the timing wasn't perfect. Companies with strong lead nurturing generate 50% more sales-ready leads at 33% lower cost, which is exactly why nurture should be a defined path, not an ad hoc, check back in Q3 reminder. Qualification should protect your AEs without creating friction that kills momentum. The practical goal is to confirm fit, ICP alignment, pain, a problem worth solving, and process, who else is involved, what timeline is realistic, in a way that respects the prospect's time. Because buying committees are larger, multi-threading is part of qualification. You're not being pushy when you ask who else should weigh in. You're reducing risk for everyone involved. If you're running sales outsourcing or an outsourced sales team model, codify these rules in writing so handoffs are consistent and your CRM stays clean. The common mistake is overqualifying in outbound and turning discovery into interrogation. The opposite mistake is underqualifying and flooding AEs with low-intent calls. A simple nurture stream, monthly or bi-weekly, with one useful asset and one clear CTA, keeps warm accounts moving without forcing premature meetings. Operational excellence, tracking what actually converts. If you can't tie meetings and pipeline back to campaigns, you don't have a lead gen system. You have activity. At minimum, your CRM, email platform, and dialer should be connected so you can measure opens, replies, call outcomes, meetings booked, show rates, pipeline created, and closed won. This is also how you evaluate whether a B2B sales agency or SDR agency is performing, not by volume sent, but by revenue-adjacent outcomes. Use benchmarks as diagnostic guardrails, not as goals you blindly chase. If your open rates are far below 27.7%, check deliverability and list hygiene. If opens are fine, but replies are below the 5.1% baseline, it's usually targeting or messaging. If replies are fine, but meetings lag, your offer and CTA are likely unclear. On the phone side, if you're stuck under 2% meeting conversion, the fix is often better calling windows, better lists, and tighter talk tracks, not more dials alone. Optimization should run on a cadence. Weekly reviews for leading indicators, and monthly reviews for pipeline outcomes. The most common mistake is changing everything at once, which makes it impossible to learn. Instead, test one variable per segment: subject lines, first line angle, proof point, call opener, and keep the rest stable long enough to get signal. This is where a mature outbound sales agency approach beats improvised prospecting. The process is designed to learn quickly and compound improvements. The practical next step: build in-house or partner strategically. If you have strong SDR leadership, clean data, and the bandwidth to coach daily, building internally can be a great long-term asset. But if your AEs are prospecting between demos, or you're missing systems for list building, deliverability, and QA, you'll often move faster by partnering, especially if you need meetings now, not after a 6-month hiring and ramp cycle. This is why many teams explore sales outsourcing or a specialist cold calling services partner to stabilize pipeline while they build internal muscle. A smart way to de-risk the decision is a time-boxed pilot. Run a 3 to 6 month program with clear targets and reporting, baseline benchmark comparisons, segment-level performance, meeting quality checks, and pipeline attribution. If you're evaluating SalesHive specifically, focus on whether we can operationalize the fundamentals: ICP segmentation, list quality, multi-channel execution, and transparent reporting, because those determine results more than any single script or tool. No matter which route you choose, the playbook is consistent. Start with tight segments, build verified lists, run coordinated sequences, follow up past the point most reps quit, and measure end-to-end conversion. Do that well, and lead gen is dead stops being a concern, because you're operating with discipline in a market where discipline is rare. The teams that treat outbound like a repeatable system will keep winning, even as competition gets tougher.